Hello and welcome to the Dash News podcast. This is episode 107. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my fellow host, Joel Valenzuela. How's it going?
Pinky's up.
There you go, he's all caffeinated. And joining us this week is Kurt Wuckert Jr. from Crypto Traders Pro. Welcome back to the podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So how's life? How's business? How's things going in the trading world?
Crazy. Life is crazy. I have a 8-month pregnant wife. So that's exciting and terrifying at the same time. It's our first kid. I just got back from Austin, Texas, where we, the Crypto Traders Pro team, were hosting Bitcoin Boot Camp, which was awesome. Actually went better than I expected it would, but covering everything from the fundamentals of cryptocurrency and security all the way up to like advanced options and derivative trading and all that kind of stuff as well. So I'm glad to be home. It's good to be back in Chicago. Texas was hotter than the hinges of hell, but yeah, so we're ready to rock and roll. Good to be back in the hot seat, back doing business. And
speaking of hot, isn't Chicago pretty hot this time of year?
You know what? Not yet. July and August, we can have some good 100-degree days with 80% humidity that make you want to die. But right now, it's about 70 degrees outside and breezy. So I am quite comfortable.
Yeah, same here in New Hampshire, except that's about as hot as it gets, maybe up to 80 once in a while. And the winters are much milder than Chicago. So it's like,
interesting.
It's Chicago style, but like not terrible.
Yeah, we had this winter, Chicago was the coldest place on earth for 2 days straight. We hit 50 degrees below zero, and I have cracks in all of my
That's Fahrenheit
drywall.
for all you capitalists.
Yeah, the Fahrenheit system says everyone dies. It was brutal. It was the worst winter I've ever experienced.
Well, speaking of everyone dies, what are you thinking about this recent little market correction since you're into the whole trades and such?
I was going to say, talking of being hot, don't want to label you as that BSV guy, but
it's
BSV's been on fire.
BSV has been epically on fire, yes. But I mean, markets wide, it's a bullish trend, and it actually took off a little bit outside of the range that I figured it even would. Like, we called the $3,000-ish BTC bottom. We were calling it since the beginning of 2018. Ended up happening, but I figured we would have a rough time getting over the 6K zone, and then blasted through it in an afternoon, and we've been bullish ever since. So yeah, hot markets are good for business. They're good for they're the best marketing tool for crypto, period.
Of course.
So
now, when you do these kinds of predictions, like I remember I've seen a lot of predictions and some traders who commented about they were expecting to see like a 90%, 80% retracement back in late 2017. Well, I was like, well, that's pretty spot on. But then they were also saying, like 3,200 Bitcoin, that was what Bitcoin was. And they're saying, now we expect it to go down to like 1,200 or so. Like, mark my words. And then you guys called the bottom. You called the bottom as just as well as Charlie Lee called the top. And so you got these predictions, and that's the things with everything is you cannot predict human behavior perfectly because, I mean, first off, I believe in the concept of free will, but even if you don't, there's just too many variables that one single person can't centrally plan an entire trading system or economy or whatever else.
Right.
So, but when you do kind of make these educated guesses, do you keep track of how often you're right versus how often you're wrong and the degrees by which you are?
Yes.
And is that something that you're able to actually improve on over time?
It is. It's funny because most crypto traders are not professional, but most, like if you look at actual technical analysts that work full-time at major firms, they're forced to. Like, they have to keep a log. So as a company, we keep a log of all of our signals. We write down our target area, our signal area, our stop loss, and then we chart exactly like what was our percentage wins, what was our percentage loss. And we're very aggressive with stop losses, and we're very conservative with signals. So we have a very particularly good success rate, but it's because we're not out there spraying the markets with with buy orders also. So we take we take a conservative approach, and it therefore makes our numbers look absurdly good. And they are absurdly good because we're not doing other trading really that we're not signaling also. So, but we have a little bit of a different approach. So raw numbers, it looks like we should be billionaires, but we are conservative with portfolio management. So we're just, measly successful traders that also have free lives and don't need to do cocaine to stay focused for 18-hour days. Exactly.
So why did BSV rocket up, man? Because the last time it was all like tears and everything, with Binance, and then
The
there was
weeping
like
and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, and then there was like the domino effect, like, oh, which exchange is going to jump on the bandwagon? It's like, what's next?
Sure.
And then all of a sudden it's out of nowhere. Then there's this Craig Wright copyright thing going out. I think Box Mining did a video saying there's some FUD in China, but whatever it was, like something happened, and I don't. Was it? I don't think you can say that's down to the chart and technicals and that. Like there was something more to this.
There was. If you take it as a pure I'm a fundamental analyst primarily. Like I do TA as well, but FA is kind of my zone. And when you see markets, when people collectively are trying to manipulate a market down, which we saw with CZ, and you got all the BTC people, the hodl not reaction to Craig Wright's guile and all of that stuff, it means that the price got severely oversold based on politics and opinion. And that's fine with me. I love when we have a big price correction based on a mob, because that mob didn't change the fundamentals of the coin. And if you look at something like Bitcoin Cash, which is floating around $400, while BSV, which is fundamentally a very, very similar project in a lot of ways, is trading at $50 or $40, that's a clear buy signal to anybody that's paying attention to the markets like that. And so I snagged up a bunch in the $50 zone because, that's the bounce to play. It would make sense for BSV to come at least to parity with Bitcoin Cash, which at that point was it was like 8 or 9x move to get up to Bitcoin Cash, and it hasn't caught it yet. But I would still argue
like 50% or so, right?
We would have to move up, or I don't even know what the numbers are today because I've been out most of the day.
Would have to double or something. Maybe I should actually look at these things.
It would have to frankly double. So a 200% move would bring BSV into parity with Bitcoin Cash. So if we assume completely equal utility, it would make sense for BSV to be a $400 coin if BCH is a $400 coin. So there's
split the
plenty
difference,
of other things
both 300.
Sure, but that's the point. If you take it like that, you should short BCH and buy BSV based on just that information, which I'm not telling anyone to do, by the way.
From a purely trading perspective, this is a complete hypothetical. Just like have some fun with it. Do you think Craig Wright and his involvement in the BSV project is a net positive or net negative for today's price?
For today's price, long term, I don't think it matters at all. For today's price,
down
sure.
Yeah.
He's
net positive.
Did you hear Craig Wright is going to pay like $4.5 million to have dinner with Warren Buffett? We should probably talk about that just in time. But so with Tron, like that was like really big news this week. But it just shows you. Clearly, I think it was just a publicity stunt, and obviously he's hoping to get media. But like, what are your guys' thoughts on that? So for those that are listening and watching, they're unfamiliar. Justin Sun, who is the leader of Tron, paid $4.5 million to have a sit-down meal with investor legend Warren Buffett, just for a meal. God knows what they're eating. Must be off gold plates or something. But I think it was for a charity thing, right? So it was a bidding type event thing. So It's not pay to play sort of thing, but it was for a donation. I'm sure it goes to a good cause somewhere. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Do you just think that's just a massive waste of money? Or
I think Justin Tron is overpaying for his escorts. He needs to check the market price. But seriously, do you really want? So, from my understanding, right, was it? And I did not look too closely into it. So, please tell me if I'm an idiot. But he did not pay that much to to have lunch with him. He paid one paid a small amount for entry into the possibility to do it, and he just basically bought all the raffle tickets, and then he kind of won by default.
That's my understanding of it too. It was
yes. So first off, if you're Warren Buffett and you're just first up, are you going to want to have lunch with that guy? If you're just like anyone, oh, I'll just raise some money for charity and all like this. This is an incentive to get people involved. We'll just raise a bunch for charity. And then some like dude who's famous for crazy stuff like this just goes wham. I'm like just muscles his way in. It's just like, you know, it's like drop kicking a child at a baseball game to catch the ball. It's a little rough. Would you want to provide your best value to that person? And second, if you're in the Just Sun area and you're not just doing a publicity stunt, which, you know, that's a big if, would you expect to get value from that interaction?
Honestly, I can think of no worse person to sit and have dinner with Warren Buffett, who is already about as skeptical about the crypto economy as anyone could be. And then to bring a guy who is, in my opinion, the most crystal clear serial scammer in crypto, he's got to be the most successful one. I mean, there's a few other people that you could say are successful at it on the fringe, but Justin Sun is a full-time cryptocurrency whatever CEO, but everything he's done has been pump and dump, market manipulation, insider relationships, and he's made himself probably a billionaire off of it. And then
was it his money that he actually paid though, or was that just from money raised from Tron? It's like
I think it's Tron. I think his money comes from Tron fundraise, like the ICO and all this different stuff that comes out of TRX. So much so that he was able to buy, you know, BitTorrent, all these different pieces of intellectual property. But I mean, he's under investigation for all kinds of things connected to Binance. Actually, him and CZ are buddies as well. But I mean, the guy is, in my opinion, the worst example of like, hey, I'm a new techie billionaire guy or whatever, and it's like, that's all ill-gotten gains. And I mean, I'm embarrassed. I just think it's ridiculous.
Even if it was just a major publicity stunt, and he's just thinking, right, he's just trying to weigh this up, thinking, right, okay, it's $4.5 million. But if we do this, even if Warren Buffett isn't interested, we'll get in all the mainstream media will cover, all the newspapers, New York Times, hopefully we'll be on the TV, we'll be over the place. Is that worth paying for that kind of that exposure, that media exposure to kind of get that? Because he wants to get Tron out there, right? So maybe...
Yeah, but I mean, what's the value of getting Tron out there? Like people buy a bunch of Tron, he creates another pump and dumps on everybody. And then all these people that were like, hey, this new crypto is going to do something are holding a bunch of heavy bags that are underwater because, you know, whatever channel shows Warren Buffett sitting with Justin Sun makes them think it's time to buy because it's the revolution or whatever. And it just burns a bunch of people. Like big pumps and hype-based things in crypto, I think are primarily bad, and they're based on bad info, bad marketing, bad hype, and it's not like that doesn't help actual adoption. Like if some business was going to be adopting TRX to do some actual business function, and then they were going to have a conversation about how to do that well, like that would be something worth at least debating the value of. But I think this is just pure. It's one more big stupid handshake for Justin Sun to have to make another big chunk of money off of hype. So I am not in favor of Justin Sun meeting Warren Buffett, who is himself like, I mean, as somebody in finance, like he's somebody that I respect and would like to say like, hey, there are actual good business people in the crypto sphere that would be worth having dinner with to discuss these opportunities. And that guy's not it, but he's muscling himself in and going to make us all look stupid by proxy.
Yeah. And is that the kind of guy that you want in crypto? I mean, he's been very rude about crypto in the past. I think he called it rat poison. And it's all the same people that he's affiliated with that have taken this stance, because Bill Gates has said Warren Buffett is kind of like his mentor when it comes to investing. And Bill Gates has been very vocal about cryptocurrency as well. So I mean, like, this is meant to be the money revolution, like, free the market, free the people, right? So we want everyday people to get into cryptocurrency, especially while we're still in this early adoption phase. We've got these big institutional people coming in. Yeah, you're hoping to get more exposure, but like you were saying earlier, it's about utility. So what can you, if you're sitting down with Warren Buffett, is there anything really you want to say to him? Not really. Like, keep your dinosaur, paper money, and we'll just do our thing. You've had a good few days, but now it's our time.
Sure.
It's our time to shine.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I was to have dinner with Warren Buffett, I'd be very happy to talk to him about the opportunities to replace SWIFT, do like cross-border remittance. Let's talk about migrant workers who can't send money home. Let's talk about some of the inefficiencies of currency exchange worldwide. Let's talk about the problems of no fungibility between the digital like the digital fiats of the world and how they don't correlate to each other nicely. Let's talk about the problems that the US dollar creates, given that it's inflationary and funds wars around the whole planet. Yeah, I mean, there are good conversations to have with somebody like Warren Buffett where he can say, oh, okay, these are not just, drug dealers and scoundrels on the internet looking to buy, illegal things using Tor and dark markets and stuff, because that's the reputation. And when he meets someone like Justin Sun, it leans more toward validating that reputation. And I just see it as a net negative. I think it's bad.
Okay, I got a couple opposite devil's advocate things to push in here. The first one is, yeah, but Bitcoin got this first mover advantage by being first, but also got a ton of attention from the Silk Road and things like that. And so just like drug money, cyber this, whoa, got people to pay attention to it. And then people started, people knew what it was and then could get their opinions changed later. And isn't, with Bitcoin sucking up the whole attention of the space and people just not realizing some of the limitations that the current BTC model has, which, we could go in a second, have a fun little topic on that. Isn't this kind of Miley Cyrus approach of coming in like a wrecking ball, kind of just you need to shock people into paying attention to something else so that you can get a conversation going?
I think the value of that is debatable, plain and simple. I just I want people to want to transact in Bitcoin. Well, you can't do that with BTC, which is why I was a casher and now a BSV guy. And frankly, it's why you guys are Dash guys. You want to have usable, frictionless cash that provides value to people's lives in transacting and creating commercial opportunity. And all of these sorts of things are just, I think it brings the wrong kind of attention, period. People look at something like TRX too, and nobody knows what TRX does. Ask the typical TRX investor what the hell Tron or TRX even does, and you'll get some vague decentralized media response or whatever the hell. But it's just it's a stock for idiots to buy. They people don't even know that it's not a stock in most cases. So
well, that brings me to my second devil's advocate kind of thing. So we assume now that we've established the prevailing opinion that this kind of attention is bad, it's not a net positive, because not because it's just splashy and whatever, but also because it just does not actually bring education or use to the actual stuff.
Right.
Is that necessarily indicative of a bad, a intentionally misleading kind of, bad intent kind of approach? Or is it just because the space is not sufficiently grown to where you can just point people to an on-ramp? So here's an example, right? Right now, I don't know if right this moment, but around now, there is still a jet racer flying around with Dash Digital Cash on it. And it's, been part of the thing, got a lot of attention. Everyone's favorite investigative journalist, Ben Swan, got a bunch of money from Dash, got a lot of exposure on Dash, stuff like that. There's been a lot of different publicity type campaigns from the most legit of projects. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have since sort of say, well, maybe that's not the best thing to do to grow it right now. We tried it because Max Kaiser and his
Great American Pilgrimage. Yeah,
things like that. They got a lot of attention, but then there's like attention and use, and there's some kind of a missing link of like, when you get the attention, what do you do with it? What do you tell people to do? How do people start just using this? How does it work for the average person? Which, in the case of Tron, might be intentionally non-existent. It might just be, Tron, therefore buy. Or in the case of Dash, it might just have not, like, there might not be enough on-ramps, there might not be enough merchants, there might not be enough things to connect it. So do you think it's necessarily a malicious, devil's advocate, Tron's advocate, is Tron doing this maliciously, or just trying to like pump and dump and just get a bunch of money and attention? Or are they doing the best thing that they know how to get publicity on the project? They just don't know how to, they haven't figured out how to translate that to real users yet.
Justin Sun is a classical young Chinese businessman. And so there's three classes in China. There's the extremely poor, there's the connected, pseudo mobbed up and governmented up sort of ruling class businessman types, which is where Justin Sun falls. And then you have your homogenous government bureaucrats and enforcement layer. So Justin Sun falls in that zone where he's a young Chinese businessman who is expected to have a certain amount of weird gravitas, because it's just a cultural thing, like to be over the top. And that's fine in China. And I think people understand that in China. Like, oh, he's just lying because he's a businessman. But in the US, it's a little more like, wow, I wonder if these things are real. And I think it's just a cultural difference. But I genuinely believe that this is a pump and dump opportunity, and that Justin Sun got into crypto because it's just a big business opportunity. I don't think of him as some kind of decentralization advocate, some dyed-in-the-wool freedom fighter. I don't think it's anything like that at all. I think he's a dude who wants money, and he's good at making it happen. And that's where I'd leave it with him.
Most efficient way for him. Now,
yes,
that's an interesting discussion to have, because we're getting into some global currency type stuff. Like, you can't box this in a certain area. And it's been funny to see how that has affected the crypto space, because there's a lot of like North American and European kind of stuff going on. And then you got some things like NEM. Remember when NEM, people pay attention? They're like, what is that? And it was like, oh, bunch of people over there like it. And then like, what's Neo? And it's like, oh, it's great, it's like Ethereum, but it's like from China or something. Oh, okay. Right. And like, it is interesting to see, because with a free market system, which crypto has very strong elements thereof. Of course, there are some regulated exchanges and stuff like that, but generally speaking, that anyone could just go and launch a chain somewhere. It's like, all right. And then you don't get to dictate. You can get to guess and try to fulfill the needs of customers, but you don't get to dictate who likes your product or who uses it or what people will use it for. It's just there. And sometimes people do it the other. You can't say, no, stop using it for that. It's like, no, they'll do it what they want. And in the West, there tends to be a lot of hodl, and there tends to be a lot of buying based on TED Talk like talk of real use and transformational experience. Right. And it seems like you got to sell people on its ability to change the world, especially help people in poor countries. You got to sell them on it, and then they just, once they've heard their fill of that, they just buy and then they forget about it. Sure. Seems to be like, it's like the Western world type thing. Yeah. It seems like, from what a lot of people have told me, a lot of traders in, for example, Korea and things like that, I have heard secondhand reports of a lot of the Western thing minus the TED Talk and minus the pretense. Just like, I'm going to buy this because it's hopefully going to go up and I make money. And just like a very simple, and not just I'm going to hold on to it, but like I'm going to flip it. I'm going to, kind of like a gambling thing, because gambling is such a, like, people don't like Calvin Ayre for a lot of reasons, but one of the things is they don't like all the gambling stuff. Oh, he's no good. Right. The West doesn't like gambling. I mean, the West does like gambling. They're a little hypocritical, but there's parts of the world where just you gamble because you can. Everyone does it. No one cares.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I obviously there's a cultural difference. The needs of Southeast Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa are quite a bit different than the needs of, say, Western Europe or the United States. And I think in Western Europe and the United States, the people that are into crypto initially were Austrian economy people, right? Like, we want sound money that can be spent on something that has greater value, except for right now, nothing has greater value than accumulation of this asset. So it's turned into this sort of hodl cult is the way I treat it. And I don't know if that's healthy or not. I would tend to say that it's not, but I think that's yet to be fully determined. But the difference is you got a place like, look at most of Asia. You got a place like Tokyo where you can spend various cryptocurrencies very readily. And, I'm sure it's quite a bit like New Hampshire or Caracas right now, but they look at it and they're like, oh, cool, new technology. Let's just use it for what it's supposed to be used for, because that's the experience, right? Mm-hmm. But Americans don't have that issue. It's I have Apple Pay and Visa and a cash that I can trust. Like US dollars are fine. I don't ever they won't work.
That could all change. I mean, we started off talking earlier saying you labeled us dashers and yourself as a BSVer, and we're all about the utility, right? But we've been talking about Justin Sun, Tron, and China and the States. But what's going on at the moment? There's the US-China trade war. So, while we're always focused on utility and people actually using it, and we're talking about the free market, people might be actually forced from moving from their debt-based dinosaur paper money and looking at cryptocurrency as that safe haven asset. I feel like I'm going to get Peter Schiff call me up in a minute to talk about precious metals and gold, because traditionally that would be the safe haven asset to go to. But now we've got a tech-savvy generation. There is potential for cryptocurrency, is there not? So, I mean, guys, tell me what's happening in America and the States, because I get news about the US-China trade war, but like I hear things about Huawei and the phones. But how bad is it in the media in the States? How are they really hyping up this US-China trade war?
A bit. I think the pro-Trump media quite a bit. There's nothing worse than illegal immigrant Mexicans, and the everything that China is doing is some plot to destroy us, rather than just a competing.
Is it real though? Is it real, or is it point scoring? Is it like a political game?
Becoming real. I actually think that Trump's focus on it will make China realize, like, oh, okay, they're not just a trade partner. Now they're trying to treat us a little bit adversarially, and I think the response from China will be quite unpleasant, given how much that they create for the world. So it's sketchy for me. I'm an open borders kind of like, man, free trade. We should all like, if China's really great at building things, we should buy the stuff that they're really great at building and be happy about it. But worldview.
I think Joel assigned an article to Justin this week for dashforcenews.org. Go check it out. Number one source for Dash News online. But about that, because of all this stuff been going on, there was rumbling in the media that China is actually looking to debase their currency again. And they've done that recently in the past. And if you're there and you're holding, your Chinese yuan, and you feel like the Bank of China is the Public People's Bank of China are going to debase your currency, then of course, if that's going to happen, and they've done that substantially, like sometimes big, like jump downs, you're going to want to play it smart. So I do think there is a level playing field here for cryptocurrency. And I know with China, it's always difficult to gauge what's really going on, because traditionally in the past, any news coming out of China would cause wild swings in the cryptocurrency market. But it's almost like we're climatizing to the drama. But I do think there is potential here, and as actual positive for cryptocurrency.
No, I agree. I've long said that the thing that matters, like, I don't want to spend my Bitcoin if I believe it's going to be worth more tomorrow, right? That's the meme. That's the hodl cult call to arms. But the reason for it is that I have readily available dollars that I can use to go buy a sandwich. But if those dollars are devalued or disappear in some way, well, very quickly, that sandwich is going to appeal to me quite a bit more than those Bitcoins that I have sitting and doing nothing. And then therefore they go up in value as they have that new added value as a means of exchange. Of course, if this happened to BTC, it would be, $50 in transaction fees to buy a $10 whatever. But I think that's the opportunity that people have been talking about, is not just savings, but that utility of like, damn it, I'm hungry. So therefore, these coins have less value sitting there doing nothing, and I got to eat. So let's start moving some UTXOs around.
So Joel, should I just get rid of all my Dash and all my dinosaur fiat paper? Because I hear this month Facebook are launching GlobalCoin. So, clearly that's where it's at. That's where all the media is. So, all this stuff was cool. It's all about Facebook GlobalCoin now, right?
No.
No? Why not? I mean, everyone's talking about it.
There's a quote.
Well, in like a sentence, sort of. Crypto has no intrinsic value. It has value only through its utility. And what is its chief utility? There's a lot of things that make it, like the technology makes a lot of good stuff available. Oh, it's easier to audit. It's, you can send it's all fast. You can, depending on who you're asking, you can scale it really far. It's like, there's a bunch of cool stuff. But the biggest, if you notice, in the early days of Bitcoin, before it became internally politicized, is inside the community. Everyone's like, oh, block size or this, or shitcoins or whatever. Before that, if there was internal politics, Bitcoin is an externally political tool. People advocated for it because this is going to smash the state and all this kind of stuff. And its use cases lined up with that, because its use cases, well, first off, gambling, right? Well, let's not forget Satoshi Dice, and then remittances, and then you started to have like store value where government stuff failed, like Cyprus type stuff, and you started to see like using for Backpage, just a lot of usage where there was artificial friction from a centralized first party. So that Bitcoin got its value for being decentralized, not just everyone likes it because it's decentralized, man, because people are trying to take it down, but just because people weren't taking down regular transactions. So Facebook creating an asset, like, come on, what is it going to be able to do that? What is it going to be able to do that regular decentralized crypto could do? Like, will it somehow have this? Well, you'll be able to gamble on it all day long. Will you be able to send it to across the country and someone can just like buy their food with it if they decide to, and then send it for something? Is there going to be that frictionless nature that has value to it?
See, like, here's the thing, and I had a brief conversation before the podcast with Kurt, because there's so much news coming about this GlobalCoin, and I know there's a few articles this week, and people are still trying to understand the bigger picture. One was talking about the governance, which is a conversation we should probably talk about, and the expense of that. But then there's the other side saying it's going to be backed by a basket of currencies. But we're crypto people, so obviously we're going to be against it because it's a centralized product. But I think we need to be honest within ourselves that greed runs market. And I think there's going to be in cryptocurrency, they're going to be chasing gains. Now, for me, what I find interesting is Facebook is on the stock market, right? So, and those people are paid by debt, like dinosaur paper money, and they've got, stockholders that they need to please, right? So everything they need to do. However, I don't think we should play down how successful Facebook is and the market that they've got. Now, the privacy and data stuff going on is crazy, but look at the advertising revenue that they get. I think in 2018 they made 55 billion estimated yearly revenue, and they had 2.27 billion active users. That's $25 for each user worldwide each year. Like, so they have the platform, and they've already said if these articles are true and factual, because a lot of it is hearsay, They're saying they want to set up crypto ATMs. They're going to focus on merchant adoptions. They're going to have sort of some trade barter system. So I do think, as they're one of the main vehicles for advertising, I mean, this is speculation on my part, but if they said, right, if you're going to use GlobalCoin, and if you do advertising on the Facebook platform, and if you use our GlobalCoin, you'll get a 25% discount. But to get that GlobalCoin, you've got to exchange your fiat for it. I think a lot of people are doing that because they might be spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on that.
Sure.
So like, I do see there is potential here, and I'm not trying to play it up. I'm just trying to be realistic. And I think most people aren't educated money-wise to see through what it is.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is, realistically speaking, couldn't they have done this at any other stage in human history just by offering Facebook credits? Like,
Sure.
what is this thing? What is it makes it different from other things? Like, why? What advantage does this have over anything else? And that's the thing I keep on asking. People say, "Oh, I don't know. Telegram's coming out with their own thing. Oh, Telegram, it's over for crypto. Oh, I don't know. This other thing." Everyone's just in this like hype mode of like, oh, some corporation's gonna launch their own crypto. But what hell does crypto mean?
Yeah.
What does it matter to begin with? And if a centralized party manages to somehow capture lightning in a bottle and make something that works for all the reasons that crypto does, they won't be able to hold on to it, and it'll be good for everyone. Like, what if we're all using GlobalCoin, but like Facebook has long since gone bankrupt or whatever, and everyone is just running their own GlobalCoin masternode or whatever the hell it ends up being, and it's just like the world decentralized currency. Like, isn't that what ultimate success looks like for us?
That's what they want to do, though. That's the crazy thing. Did you see the nodes? Like, report: Facebook plans to create independent foundation to manage its cryptocurrency. Will charge members $10 million licensing fee for the right to operate a node. So, and they've been going around talking to tech giants. Because that's a huge amount of money to ask for, but I believe also government stuff as well. And we see like these Bilderberg like groups and stuff, and we see all these people from Google and stuff get together. So I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility because most people can't really afford that. But it's kind of weird that Facebook has opted for this kind of node system where it's an independent foundation, and the privileged few that can afford to operate these high cost nodes get to say how the future is for the cryptocurrency separate to Facebook. It's very strange the way that I mean it's very reminiscent of our masternode network, but in a very, very elitist way,
a completely permissioned way.
Yeah, and
that's the thing is that's the thing what people try to keep on forgetting is that people just think that there's this ruling elite that controls the money and they're all in cahoots and that's it. It's like, you kind of, but wouldn't Facebook love to topple the Federal Reserve if they become the new Federal Reserve? Like, think about it.
100%.
That's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to create another new, like, Federal Reserve issuing the money and the banking system controlling it. That's what we have already. So they're trying to literally just be the new version of that. And I would posit with just maybe faster block propagation times or something. I don't know. Just nothing too crazy. But I would posit that if they succeed in doing that, the same needs for cryptocurrency will still be around. Someone's going to be like, oh, I tried to finance WikiLeaks. And WikiLeaks, by the way, bought this shirt with Dash. Can't censor Dash. So I'm trying to like do something with WikiLeaks. And Facebook Coin blocks me. Oh, I want to, send money across the thing, but then the Trump tariff thing, it's huge, it's the worst. And he gets all upset and he goes and like twists the arms of these few $10 million Facebook masked slave nodes. Call them slave nodes because they're, whatever.
Plantation nodes.
That's better. Plantation nodes. So there's going to be so many memes out of this now. But so they twist the arms and then they manage to stop, or they impose an extra cost on sending money to Mexico because they're the worst. Avocado toast must we starve the millennials, all that kind of stuff. And then people are gonna be like, hey, I'll send you Dash, I'll send you Bitcoin, I'll send you freaking Tron if it works. I don't know. We can just value transmission across borders without friction because Facebook coin won't really work for that.
Yeah.
And so as long as there's demand for that,
I'm not sure though. I mean, like, I don't want it to succeed, obviously, but like, if you look at what's happened, you know, what works in China already. I mean, it's still amazing to me that people in America are still writing checks, where in China people are using Alipay and WeChat to send things with no fees. So you got to look at what Facebook owns and operates. It's not just the advertising; it's the Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram. Like, they've got a whole monopoly. So it's, you know, if they were just going to contain it literally just within their app ecosystem, they could still, like, you know, really rule the roost. And I thought there was like news a few months back with the Facebook CEO, was it Zuckerberg, meeting with some government officials and stuff. So I think he's been going around, not just talking to tech giants, but governments and stuff as well. If he gets this working, and here's the thing, I don't think I mentioned this, is that the global coin apparently is going to be backed. I mean, some people were saying it was a stable coin, but it's going to be backed by a bunch of fiat currencies. So that it's like a basket. It's kind of like the SDR, right? Of the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, the central bank of central banks. Like, you can't make this stuff up. You know, it's like, you remember that cover where it was like 2020, there's going to be like that new Phoenix or a flame thing. I mean, like, I didn't see this happening. I mean, this would actually fit it pretty well, because those 10 million nodes, 10 million, sorry, 100 $10 million fee nodes is going to generate $1 billion of licensing fees every year. Like, this is serious wonga. This is top. Well, I was going to say top dollar, but I mean, like, I don't think they're messing about. And they've obviously, and they're meant to be launching this month, like maybe next week. So this is why everyone's talking about it. And I know the sheeple are going to like flock to this. I don't think they can get away from it. And I think people now, from what I read in some of the articles, it says they want to set up these physical crypto ATMs that just mentions exchange for, you know, fiat currency. Doesn't mention cryptocurrency exchange, but that wouldn't surprise me. But if there was, say next week, I think they were saying June the 16th. Say it launches then, and there was a BTC trading pair. You know, greed would run in the market, and you know people would want to take a punt. You know they will.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100% they will. I mean, we've seen a few versions of this, like people talking about Coinbase is going to come up with their own stable coin that's going to whatever, and then we ended up getting USDC out of it. And you know, it hasn't been huge, but Coinbase doesn't have anywhere near the reach of Facebook. And then Joel mentioned the Telegram coin and that kind of thing. But I think with Facebook, like, we're talking about one of the most valuable companies in the history of the world, and we are talking about the company that has the most data on the most people in the history of the world. So if I was the NSA of a decade ago, I would have exponentially less information about how to manipulate anybody than Facebook has right now. They know exactly
you
what
just hit
I
the
want
nail on the head. You're right. It'll be the NSA governments and these tech giants that operate these nodes, because they control all that data, the privacy. So now they're going to know everything that you're buying, the pack of cigarettes at your shop or whatever, or the merchants. That's what they want. That's the value. And that's why there's going to be the high expense for these nodes. That's the model. So of course, that's why governments want to get involved. Yeah, that's scary.
Like,
it's terrifying.
Everything's going to be free. It's going to be free transactions everywhere. No, nothing's free. That's commie nonsense. That's commie/iota nonsense. But it's not free. It's free to whom, but it costs someone something to run that infrastructure and provide that service. Now, whoever's paying that, why are they paying? Who's paying them? Right? That's the real, you know, cui bono. Who's benefiting from the whole exchange? So I believe Facebook is trying to, and they already have like payments in messengers, and there was in the messenger, and there was already someone who got busted for like buying and like literally selling drugs on Facebook Messenger here in New Hampshire, and like the cops used that to get, which is the most dumb thing, but that's exactly what you're talking about, Mark. They're going to make everyone do it, and then the government's going to control everything. And I know the government's still in bed with the banks and the Federal Reserve and stuff for the time being, but what if someone makes him an offer they can't refuse?
See, the thing is, so too is Mark Zuckerberg, though. Like, Mark Zuckerberg is not some independent guy that doesn't have any connections to big banking. Like, he is a guy who went to Harvard. I've read a number of rumors about his CIA connections and things like that as well. Obviously that stuff can't be easily confirmed, because if they're true, they would be non-confirmable. But there's a lot of investors in Facebook that are very, very closely integrated into this whole new world order woo-woo that you hear a little bit about. But it's a way to make it look like, hey, here's this place where you feel safe. It's where all your friends are. It's everything you love about the world is available on Facebook. And now you can do business in Facebook and all these different things. And you're absolutely right in that at some point, like, if their model is successful, there's no reason to even use anything else, because I've already got most of my connections in the world are through Facebook. Most of my friends, like, if I make a party invitation, if I'm going to have a barbecue, I don't send out invitations. I make a Facebook event. And
with one exception, though, right? So I don't think it's fair to call it GlobalCoin, because we were just previously talking about the US-China trade war. But correct me if I'm wrong, but Facebook is banned in China and Vietnam, and I think a few other countries.
There's a few others.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you can use VPNs, but China has its own replacement. I forget the name of it now. I mean, they've got their own version of YouTube, Youku, but I forget the Facebook alternative.
Sure.
And, and they've got a lot of people in China. So it's not like they really feel the need to. So, so Facebook doesn't really have that insight. Although, they've got India and everywhere else.
Right. And that's a thing, is so right now, India and Russia and the EU and things, they have their own sovereignty because they have their own money. But all those places are on Facebook. And if it makes more sense for someone in Calcutta to be like, hey, I could be doing business with Americans and Europeans if I just did it in GlobalCoin. I mean, that's the name of it, is GlobalCoin. Yeah, because the point is, like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a social network and you want to operate in a certain country, you need to ask permission from that government, right? Because you're operating within their borders. That's how it's traditionally worked, right? And that's why certain countries have been blocking some of these networks. So that means they're subservient to the governments to operate there. So that's another worrying factor in this as well. And the fact is that, although I don't like to use the word stable coin, but they're saying it's going to be backed by a basket of these fiat currencies. It's still, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still propping up the fractional reserve banking system, right?
Sure. Oh, it is 100%. Yeah, I don't know that any of it's good.
Why would I want to hold shares in Facebook with my dinosaur paper money if that's what they're trying to replace and make obsolete? So I think that's why they're saying they're using it as a basket of currency, saying, well, look, it's not gonna push down that. You're still gonna get your profits of revenue, from advertising, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But
I think the thing to consider from a pure investment standpoint, it's important to realize that quite often the bad guys win. So it's
however, I think this is a reshuffling the chairs on the Titanic kind of a thing. And it's just like a sideways move to just stay relevant when they're losing control. Think about 20, 30 years ago, how utter and total control what one would call the global elites had over everything. And just think about how social media and decentralized apps and then cryptocurrencies and stuff. Now it's just like, it's shattered so much control. There's so much extra free thought. We have a Pepe president in the US. I mean, geez, like it's all upside down. It's just, and they're losing.
So how do you get it back? You got to think about the people that are planning, the people that benefit from the hierarchical economy that we live in. They have to be thinking, okay, if we're going to lose our power because of these cryptocurrencies, how do we wedge our way back in? Like, this is the thing, like, the people who are in power are not in power because they're stupid. And I think this is something that we absolutely should have expected. And I mean, we've seen it a million times. Like, how did these central banks even grow in the first place? Is bankers saying, we need to lend to governments, and then the governments can just tax the people to pay back the loans to us, and that'll be great. And they create these systems, and even just the name GlobalCoin, like that is just like the perfect New World Order name for a coin.
And they want a board of directors, right?
Right.
New independent foundation. Yeah, you're right. It is literally the New World Order.
But then think of how that they, like you mentioned, like India has its own business laws. Like an Indian can't do XYZ with a European citizen. However, if you're Facebook, you can say, well, ease up those laws and we will give you all of the data we have on your citizens, which to any government, they'll be like, okay, we'll let them do some business with we will ease up those regulations in exchange for all of that juicy data. And I think that's going to be the grease that makes it happen in most of the world that would be a little bit hesitant.
It's too good of an opportunity for governments and tech giants to dismiss. Like that $10 million, most people can be like, that's crazy money. To them, we're crypto people. We're thinking like, what's the block propagation going to be like? What are the fees going to be like? But if these nodes are so expensive, and I'm guessing that's due to the infrastructure to operate and run them, then if they could do transactions for free, governments and tech giants will just like laugh at $10 million. They'll be like, we're getting all that data for free and privacy insights. That's worth a lot more money to us.
Yeah, so, 10 million. Yeah, 10 million bucks is. I mean, you can just make it up. You're the damn government. Just like, I don't know, just put it on a screen and send it to them. Who cares? So it's essentially free if you're the state. So
scary times, man. Like
it is.
This is like I had no idea, and I'm really thankful for this news. I guess I should say literally, it's only a couple sentences. So just for clarity, this is what the report says. Facebook's cryptocurrency will primarily live in Facebook's app ecosystem, but the firm plans to partner with merchants to accept it for payments. Facebook also plans on adding physical crypto ATMs to exchange local currencies for its token. The information also reports that while CEO Mark Zuckerberg has taken a personal interest in the project, Facebook's COO and CFO have been skeptical of it. Interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like they've obviously got I don't want to say roadmap, but they've got a plan and an agenda here.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I definitely see it as a thing that will come and try to affect a lot of people. But the fact that this is even a thing, they're not just like, nah, use the banks. The fact that they just see the writing on the wall, oh crap, we're going to lose the banks and all our control. And then all of a sudden, like the dark horse, like Zuckerberg comes in and be like, I know you need me now.
Okay. No.
Ready to listen to him now.
This is the scary thing for me though, because we've had Brexit and everything over here. But let me just play out a scenario in the States. So you're in the States, and say you have a financial crisis, or just the US trade war really starts kicking in. China devalues its currency. Trump's like, oh my God, okay, now we've got to play ball. Gets with the Federal Reserve, and then they start debasing their currency, the US dollar. Now, if I'm an American, I'm like, I'm losing my wealth preservation here. I'm losing my purchasing power. I can switch up my US dollars and buy GlobalCoin, and that's backed by a basket of fiat currencies. I'm going to be much better off. If I just leave US dollars in my bank account, I'm going to keep, in this race to debase with these central banks competing with each other in a trade war. I'm much better off with GlobalCoin. And of course, that will have a knock-on effect with other countries, massive currency wars in a race to debase. And they're practically pretty much at zero already, right? They're going into negative interest rates, like they have done in Europe and want to continue to. So it is like, I can actually see this playing out perfectly. It's scary.
I'm going to need to do some research on exactly how the network is set up. I don't know if that's even available. Is it, is the code open source? Is there any of that data really available? Is it like a fork of Stellar, or is it going to be a side chain to something? Or do we know any of that information yet, or not really?
To my knowledge, no. It's like only things are starting to get leaked this week. It's been like drip fed, and it's kind of like it's like zip. Mum's the word, and 16th of June is apparently the date it's going to launch. And then, but I'm guessing, being Facebook, it's not going to be open source, and I don't know if they
probably not.
And even if you had the $10 million and you said like, okay, I want to come forward, I want to run one of these nodes. I reckon they've got all these prerequisites that you've got to meet.
You don't qualify, right?
People. Yeah, you're not Google. You're not a government.
Right.
You've got a waiting list, buddy. Like, who are you?
Yeah, we need accredited investors.
Yeah, and think about financial institutions. If you was JP Morgan or something like that, you would want to get in there, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
This was the other thing. So, the social media giant has reached out to dozens of financial institutions and tech companies who contribute capital to the foundation and help manage the cryptocurrencies network. So this is in regards to the $10 million nodes. So, we're not hyping. I know it sounds very doom and gloom, but like this is what they're intending to do. They want the tech giants and potentially governments and financial institutions to be running these nodes. They're not messing about. So rather than try to compete with them, they're getting in bed with them. So, which kind of makes sense. It's kind of like, because if you was a central bank, if you're the Bank of England or your Federal Reserve, it's like, I can't see how we're going to win this. And we're kind of beyond the point of no return. So what do? We can't admit defeat. All right, let's all get together. Let's have a Bilderberg meeting or something like that. And let's all work together and let's all have a stake of the pie. It's kind of like, the creature of Jekyll Island, but this is like our modern day version of it. It's like the giants and everything coming together, right? This is it. This could be it. And like, it may be in like 100 years time, there'll be books about this and God knows.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll hear about the backroom deals that made this all happen. I think it's interesting because like this is what I have been saying for a number of years, that if we don't use cryptocurrencies, if we don't use Bitcoin to be a means of exchange that people are using readily, if it is not part of their life and their business cycle, if it's just this investment, just the store of value, just these things to buy to sell for more fiat currency tomorrow, then we're going to get bulldozed by somebody that understands incentives better. And talking about conspiracies, I think if you want to talk Bilderberg, I think there's some involvement a little bit there. Like, okay, we need to make sure Bitcoin fits in this very little box, and then we'll create something better that benefits us. And
so are you going to be advising your followers to invest in GlobalCoin?
If I could find more information about it, I may.
What would you do? Like, if you know there's going to be profit to be made, like, do you where's your moral compass? Do you like, well, okay, I can make money from this? Or do you be principled and you be like, I know what this stands for and I'm contributing to Hydra. Like, if I do this, what do you do?
I mean, it's like buying Raytheon or Lockheed Martin stock on 9/11, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're going to go to war, so I should make money on the missiles that we're going to be buying. And
it's crazy.
But as an investor, I mean, the shrewd investor is like, I'm here to make money. It's going to happen anyways. Why would I not be on that boat? And then you get the moral investor who, I don't know. I don't know if there is a moral investor.
So the way I would summarize it is GlobalCoin is the SDR equivalent for the people, where the SDR issued by the BIS Bank is the SDR basket of currencies is just for central banks to buy, right? Because they have to borrow. So the idea of them having a basket of currencies, which the Chinese yuan actually became a part of last year, and they'd been excluded up until fairly recently. So it is very telling, like time-wise, with all the things and events happening. So yeah, man, super bizarre.
That's another thing to consider too. I mean, imagine that negotiating power with China. Be like, hey, let China get on Facebook, let China get on GlobalCoin. We will share all of their data, your people's data with you, government of China. I don't see how they don't take that deal.
If I was China, and we know China holds a shed load of debt of US dollars, right? Well, I always just say like there'll be like a debt tsunami. I would take all those like dollars and I would probably if I was China and I put them into GlobalCoin. One, because their basket currency is going to be a lot more stable. So like that's another angle where China could play. So like wherever you are in the world, there's an angle you can play with this.
Sure.
So I know most of the podcast we talk about the GlobalCoin, but everyone's talking about it right now. But let me try and switch it up. And so this brings me to a point of decentralized exchanges, We've been talking about them for a long time. I remember when Joel was telling me about like BISC and stuff, and we got really excited, and it kind of never really took off. I don't know what's going on there. I know Binance, that's a bit of a dirty word for BSVers, Binance, but they had their DEX, Decentralized Exchange, that they were trying to launch. I'm not sure. They've lost my confidence, and that people are a bit skeptical of what's going on. When are we going to get a real decentralized exchange that we can use?
Probably never. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense because there's no profit motive. If there's not a business model behind it, it's very unlikely that something will become ubiquitous, because who's going to develop it and for what purpose? Like, I know activists, I know people that have their political motivations, but at the same time, they got to eat. So you get something like BISC, which I believe is in the process of, or maybe just launching a DAO to try to become a self-funding system. But I don't know how successful they'll be, because as a trader, I look at it and say, there's no liquidity. I can't work there. And then I have to shake out, like, what's the benefit of using it anyways? Whose coins am I getting? If we're trading person to person, it just looks like a peer-to-peer swap, and I'm likely trading my coins with some criminal of some level, and then I have Bitcoin in my wallet that was involved in human trafficking and drug dealing, and then when I go to use it in the future, I'll be like, how the hell did you get this coin? BISC. Like, I think it creates more problems than it solves in a lot of ways. And then you've got all these pseudo dexes, that Binance is a good example, or you have ZRX is building things that are supposed to create cross-chain liquidity between dexes, but those kind of dexes are not. I mean, they're centralized. Like, Binance has said crystal clear, we have the ability to confiscate your coins, we have the ability to block you from opening an account. So what the hell are we talking about? Like, which part of it? Right, which part of it is decentralized? To me, it sounds like Coca-Cola creating a blockchain, which isn't a blockchain, to pump their stock, and Binance is creating a DEX. Yeah, all right, yeah, we all need Facebook DEX. That's what we need.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People got what qualifies the cryptocurrency, or like, why does anyone care? Got so diluted that now, it's crypto, it's blockchain, and so now people are duped into either thinking, something run by a centralized company or service is somehow good, right, or on the other side, who don't think it's good, they're duped into thinking it's somehow like an actual threat. Because, like, what happens if everyone is on like DEXs, centralized DEXs or whatever? It's like, but don't you think? Well, centralized exchanges today. I mean, what is it going to get worse? It's so also it means you have to sort of re-educate the whole world on what actually matters, on why do we care about a free financial system. And in the meantime of doing that, you find people who already value that and sell to them, and they're going to be happy using free money of a free people, and they're going to be if freedom actually is the best thing, then they're going to be better off, and everyone's going to get jealous of them being better off, and they're going to want to join too. They're going to get FOMO, decentralized FOMO,
right?
And that's how it's got to always work out.
And again, I have to get back to the business model. Like, what am I doing at a DEX? Like, I am trading two shitcoins for each other in order to extract fiat value. I mean, that's it. So the purpose there is so precise, but so low in value and utility anyways, that I just don't see how it works. And we've even seen decentralized markets. Something like OpenBazaar, for example, is like, when that was new, it was like, oh, cool, this is going to be like eBay, but nobody can stop me, and blah, 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 blah. And I think
on eBay, that's the question I don't think they finished answering. And it's a great thing to exist, but it's just like, it's like when you have like your freaking prepper kitchen filled with MREs and canned goods, and you're like, I got to eat this shit. And you're like,
right.
Like, until the apocalypse, no one cares that your beans are decentralized. You know
exactly.
What I mean? Like,
but the other thing is, like, we're like working our way back to sound money. Like, I don't want to sound like a core guy here, a hodl cult guy, because I'm not. But the point of sound money is not to not spend it at all, but it's to not spend it frivolously. So I shouldn't be spending Bitcoin on hot dogs every day. Like that would be wasteful. It's unhealthy. Sound money should incentivize you to spend wisely, which from a business model standpoint of a merchant,
hot dogs are the wisest purchase.
but think about it like the merchant.
You should be evicted from your for dissing hot dogs so much.
Yeah, well, I'm a hot dog guy too, so maybe that's not the best example. Let's talk about luxury purses or something. Like people are shopaholics, are incentivized to be shopaholics by the fact that the money is not sound. It is slowly losing value at all times, and therefore buy Louis Vuitton purses, buy new fur coats, buy. But sound money should mean you should only really buy the things that are essential to your life. It should make you a more responsible person and save more than you spend, earn more than you're, like stack up the sound money that you can, and therefore only buy new shoes when your old shoes are falling apart. And that's a real problem with adoption too, that I don't want to buy anything on Open Bazaar because I don't want to spend my Bitcoin on something that I don't really need.
But yes. You'd like to earn. So if that gave you the ability to sell stuff like eBay and get paid cryptocurrency, that's the cheddar.
Yes,
that's what you want. That's what we need. We need solutions like that because sometimes people don't have the money to buy, but they've always got crap that they can sell, right? So like sure. That would actually be a very powerful tool, and eBay is missing a trick with that. When I saw the consensus and I saw the advert, I was like, oh my god, this is game over. I was like, man, I've still got a few comics I need to sell. Like if I could sell stuff for cryptocurrency, like everything's going on eBay.
I agree.
They're missing
Absolutely.
a trick.
And that's actually a really great example of the power of sound money, right? Is that like, I'll keep all this frivolous crap around me if I only can sell it for fiat, but if I can sell it readily for the crypto that I want, shoot, I'm living in a box and I'm gonna accumulate as much as I can.
Yes. So now that's another thing that people sort of mistake with the whole hodler dichotomy is people just say, oh, it doesn't need to be spendable because you save it. We should save it, not spend it. Or some people say, you should just spend it all the time, spend on everything, blah, 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 blah. Right. And one thing people seem to forget, like, why do you spend crypto? You're an idiot. I'm like, well, I have a much higher percentage of my wealth in crypto than you. In fact, I got like, I got like nothing that's not crypto. Right. And you losers don't because you're too busy about, I got to hold it, I can't spend. But then I need like however $3,000 in the bank at least, or a lot of money because I can spend that stuff if I need to, because I do need to spend on stuff. Yeah. But then there's also a lot of things the reason. Now, here's the thing about crypto. It's not just that because you can say it, because it has value long term, you're less likely to spend it on frivolous things. Yes. On the other hand, you're even more likely to spend on frivolous things if it's an efficient system because the frictionless nature of it. So, for example, I will tip some rando on Twitter like $5, but I would never would have, back in my old, slave days, put in like my credit card number to do that. Or it's like, do you want to donate $1 to cancer research? Like, all of a sudden I'm like, no. Can you have my card? Or it's just like, even cash, which is more frictionless. Like, am I going to get my paper out and like, no, just crypto. It's like, oh, my Dash wallet, tip. And before I'm broke. Like, it's because how frictionless it is. There's a completely different kind of a thing. And like, whenever I've thought about freemium model things like premium games and things, I always thought that's such a scam. Who would actually put their payment information into like Candy Crush or something? I never got that. But if there was a game where I could just like spend like a quarter of a cent every time I wanted to like buy another like 100 little troop people on the little app, I'd spend like 3 Dash a day doing that or something. Because of the frictionless difference in that.
I've got an idea for a DApp.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the thing about the whole sound money thing is people intrinsically understand it. And they intrinsically understand something about it. Everyone knows that gold's worth a bunch of money. If someone's like, okay, look, you can have a brick of gold or you can have the fiat equivalent in dollars. Like a lot of people will probably get the dollars so they can spend it, but people still like if you have like gold under your mattress rather than just piles of cash or like digits in your account, that's just somehow like, whoa, it's like Indiana Jones. I got this thing. And it's like people do somehow understand that. And if there's anything wrong with their country's currency, anything goes weird, people are going to be just like, with their gold coins, they're going to be, if they have, there's gold or silver around, people go, hey, can I get some of that? Like, how much do you bet? And we're not even talking about U.S. with the dollar, Venezuela with, nothing. There's a lot in between there. There's a lot of like, what about in the UK, what during the whole initial stages of the whole Brexit thing, when the pound started to have some fluctuations, could you talk to some like curry cart there or, kebab wagon or whatever and just say, hey, can I pay you in this ounce of this like silver round or whatever? As long like some might accept a few of those just to be safe. You never know.
I don't know. I think they'll probably chase me out the shop with one of those kebab knives. It's like, get out.
Yeah, it could be. But there's a lot of places in the world where they would be like, yeah, I don't know. Why not? Why not?
Well, Binance is launching the GDP stablecoin. Really strange timing to be doing this. They got the Binance token, right? Why do they need this? Yeah. I'm guessing, I don't want to accuse Binance, and I know everyone's kicking Binance at the moment, and it's an easy thing to do. But the thing is, like stablecoins, they know it's an easy play. They know if they launch that, they know people are going to inject money into it. So, I don't know, or maybe people just see through that now. Maybe they're getting a bit fatigued with the stable coins. I'm not sure. I'm not really a stable coin person. So, but yeah, it's scary times, man.
I think it's interesting. I thought Binance was brilliant for having BNB. Like they created an incentive coin that clearly has made them probably untold tens of billions of dollars. So from like a pure shrewd business standpoint, like, hey, you can reduce your fees if you buy BNB, and we're going to burn. Like it is the perfect pump to the moon coin. Like in every regard, its fundamentals are pure toxic profit. So then moving to a stable coin, I saw a report of that very briefly too, and was like, like what? Why? What? I don't understand what value that could possibly have.
Yeah, and let's face it,
see how it plays out.
Let's face it, they need every penny they can get right now, right? So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying I don't want to get in legal trouble. I'm just saying it's very strange timing to be launching something when they're trying to repair their reputation.
It's sort of a sign of the times, because if you look at it's funny to see like who profits from what and what during what climates. And I'm sure, for example, BitPay was a massively successful business in the BTC only fees under 10 cent days.
Yeah. And
now who knows? All I know is everyone who tries to pay with BitPay, someone recently reported they tried with a BitPay wallet and it didn't work. And it's just like, it's just all such a disaster. And of course, Shapeshift was hopping during the high times. And because people were just flipping crypto to crypto and they didn't want to like get an exchange and figure all that stuff out, which honestly, that would be people like me. I think way back in the day, I was like, I didn't want to trade. I was never a trader, before you judge me. Like, I was never trying to be a trader. But someone gave me a bunch of coins of some random shit coin, I'm like, all right, thanks. So this is cool. And I practiced sending around, and then I kind of forgot about him a little bit until I was like, scrolling around CoinMarketCap, and all of a sudden, like, when was that in the top 50? Sorry, 20. Whoa. I'm like, I need to do something about this right now. I'm like, I know, it's like, oh yeah, I know the people, I know the project, I know the team, and I know I have like a 3-hour window before this goes back. It's like one of those types of things. And so I'm like trying to figure out a thing, and like I didn't know about putting like buy and sell orders and stuff. Like I want to just sell it, trade it,
right?
Not I got to do all this stuff and put the thing in. I'm like, against what pair? Like, can't I just say, I want someone to pay me Bitcoin for this. Just what's the price? What's the market price? Let's do it now. So there's a lot of shapeshift type people who are like they're holding on to a thing, and then it just goes like woo, and I'm like, oh, I'd rather have the other coin for this price, and they just want to flip it. And then
it's dangerous, very dangerous. I was talking to Kurt before the podcast started about Poloniex yesterday. They tweeted. Let me bring this. I mean, this is quite major news, and this happened on the 26th of May. And they only tweeted about it yesterday. So they tweeted on May 26th, a sudden severe price crash in the clan market. Never heard of that, but I've shitcoin before. Clan market caused a number of margin loans to default, resulting in a roughly 1,800 Bitcoin loss in the Poloniex BTC margin lending pool for non-US consumers. So, I mean, sorry, customers. So like that is crazy. Like when you're looking at stop losses, you got to know what you're doing. You know, I think now in the UK, I think in the States you call it trading options. In the UK we call it spread betting. But if you sign up to one of these spread betting providers, they have live webinars and stuff that you can watch to help you learn about the Forex market and understand like the technical indicators and kind of bring up to speed. I think a lot of people that get into crypto and they're seeing, and especially we've got these exchanges that offer these margin trading solutions, they don't have that background and they're not, you know, this is the first time they're really getting into this. It's been made accessible to them, which I guess is why you're so successful in what you do, Kurt, because, you know, beforehand I was kind of like, oh man, what signals and stuff you're getting, right? Yeah, because you're like, well, actually most of the time it's just educating people about trading, technical analysis, the technical indicators, how to read charts. Is that correct?
Right. Correct. Yeah, we don't like, we're not a signals group. I think a lot of people, well, most groups are signals groups, and therefore people assume that we are a signals group, but we are 100%. We're an educational community. We get together to discuss the value of charting and indicators, and then we largely make our own decisions. Sometimes we come to a community consensus and say, hey, this chart looks like it wants to pop, and therefore, you know, anybody who's paying attention over the next 8 hours should probably snag some. So, but we're not a signals group that's feeding 10 signals a day to a bunch of noobs that don't know how to use the exchanges, don't know how to use the tools. We're very, very different in that way. So, but that's the real value, is like, you want to become self-efficient, self-sovereign, and be able to make that kind of decision for yourself.
Education is the best investment. There you go.
Yes, 100%. You know, so like if I get hit by a bus, I don't want my whole community to be like, well, I guess I'm done being a trader. Like I would hope that people would mourn my death and then continue to be successful. So that's the goal there, you know, like feed people what they need, like teach people how to fish, and then they're not my responsibility to feed, right?
So Joel, like, so we spoke about a number of topics tonight, and it seems to me the solution is just right in front of us. It's dApps. We need the Dash platform with the DAPI and Dash Drive right now. We need people building social network dApps, all kinds of things, gaming apps as well. We need all kinds of cool things. But like, this is the only way we can get away. But they need to be usable, right? They, you know, I think you were talking about Open Bazaar earlier and stuff as well. I looked at it. I think it's a cool solution for what it is, but it's a bit archaic, and I don't think I would use it personally.
No.
So it's got to work, and it's got to look nice and everything else. But I think now that even junior developers coming in can create mobile apps and everything else, and I think that's one of the distinct advantages with the Dash platform, because you can be a developer from any kind of background and cross over those skill set, where with other cryptocurrency projects and dApps, you know, it's much more particular skills that you need to focus on. So like, and the evolution libraries are now open source and stuff as well. So exciting times. But I mean, Joel, sorry, I'm going off a tangent there, trying to sell Dash a bit here. This is the Dash podcast, people. But like, am I right? Do you agree? Like, dApps is going to solve all these problems that we've been talking about?
Yeah, it depends. Here's the thing. Are you going to sell a decentralized bicycle? think about is it going to work? What do people want? And that's the big thing when I'm thinking about like Open Bazaar, for example. And I don't want to talk smack about them because great project and stuff. Here's the thing. I really want to use Open Bazaar out of principle. What am I going to use it for? To buy stuff? Well, first off, they don't have Dash implemented, so I can't spend Dash, so it's useless to me. It's completely useless to me. So already I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to switch it for Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin or some nonsense like that. So I can, no, I'm just going to, use BitRefill, buy Amazon gift cards with Dash, and buy it off of Amazon. What does Open Bazaar have that Amazon doesn't? Certainly not better prices, certainly not better selection. Like, what do I need off of Open Bazaar? It's just like, oh, but it's decentralized, man. Well, what do I need it for? No good. Get out of here. And same thing with BISC. Now, the problem with BISC, and I've actually traded something on BISC as a test, and there was zero liquidity. So the only reason I could do that is I had Albert, who works for me, like on the other side of the, over on the other side of the country, like, hey, can you put in an order for this real quick so I can buy it? I was like, oh, we couldn't figure it out. It took forever to figure it out. It was a disaster. I'm sure it got better. But the point being is what I have a feeling that most people who want to trade crypto want to trade crypto. They want to buy it and then they want to sell it for other stuff and they want to get back out into fiat eventually somehow. They want to just, I'm going to buy some of this, bitch, I'm going to get rich. Trade crypto. Most people who want a decentralized, no AML, KYC, peer-to-peer type exchange thingy, there's two types of people. First off, there's mega whales who don't want any of that to go to grubby government hands. They just wanted like flip gajillions of dollars, flop about like a giant humpback, big wave, and then just they want to get it all out and have no one the wiser. There's not that kind of liquidity or anything like that on any decentralized exchanges. So no, they're not going to use it. Or then there's people here who are just like, yeah, I want to buy crypto, but I want to buy it for cash. I don't want anyone knowing. I just want to stock up decentralized stuff, but I want to keep the government out of my business. And they want a decentralized brokerage type service. They want maybe a local Bitcoins, before it turned all crappy. But they want something like that they can just I want to meet up with someone, give them a wad of cash, get the crypto, and that's it. No one knows. And BISC is a trading platform with all this trading pairs, and who the hell knows? What if people just want to buy it at market price? Oh, that looks good. So it's it's a decentralized bicycle for a fish. That's what I'm saying. Is there's where's the customer that needs that?
It really is. The use case is so painfully specific and low value that something like that. And there's a lot of competitors too. There's the Komodo DEX. There's the Waves DEX. There's I think EOS has their own DEX. Every one of these coins is everybody's going to be trading on our platform because it's decentralized and people don't care. Yeah, right. It's right. I'm gonna trade some coin that nobody's ever heard of for some other coin that nobody's ever heard of, in hopes that it goes up in fiat value faster. And then you've got the cash out problem. I'm going to need to go back to some pair that's available at Coinbase ultimately to cash my way out if there's no other way to do it. And I think it solves a problem that doesn't actually exist unless you have a reason to be a money launderer. That is the use case.
That's exactly the DApp challenge. Here's the DApp challenge for you guys. You got to make something that both works for average Joe Blow who will start using it when they already have a centralized alternative and don't really fully care. Oh, it's decentralized, brah. They don't care about that stuff. Works for them, and at the same time cater strongly to that group of people who is not served by the centralized system. Let's take one. Twitter. There's been Gab and a whole bunch of other stuff. The problem is whatever. But so you port over a Twitter, you allow it to say you make it so it's say it's Twitter, and you can say whatever you want. You're not going to get banned or whatever, because everyone's getting banned from Twitter. And so like, all right, well, I want to use that because I want to interact with, let's say, predominantly conservative voices, because they seem to be the ones who have been banned from Twitter a lot. I want to be faced with that. But then you're just only going to have like a Gab situation where it's just like Pepe, 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 Pepe. That's
right.
But so what you got to do is you have to have some kind of way to filter that so the regular people can just be like, look, I don't want to look at those people. I want to just like, I want to curate my own content, but they're not being censored either. And so it just like works for both people, and it has a super good user experience. And then add in something like, hey, you can edit your comments just like you edit tweets. You can use little state conditions and like update on the blockchain. It's like, this is the tweet comment. You can just edit it if you want. And on the blockchain, it might save your previous version, or if you delete one, it might just delete it from the interface, but it's just still there, and in your own. Who knows how it works? But you got to have something that it's like Twitter, but you can edit the things and it works better and blah blah blah.
Right.
Or how about Dashbook, right? Facebook Dash Edition. So all you have to do is make it a Facebook that actually listens to a couple of users' demands, like thumbs down button or dislike button.
Right.
Have a couple things like that, and just their big thing is, you don't even say like Facebook, but you can just say your data is private. Your data is yours. We will never, we can't, don't have the ability to sell or track your data.
Right.
And some people would be like, yeah, I don't want, yeah, that's good. Or it's like you back up you can back up your entire profile. Because some people, what's his name? Omar Baum, Crypto's News. He had his Facebook account deleted, and like literally his whole life got erased. It was just like, it's like fingerprints just started disappearing before his eyes. Oh, who am I? It's not really, but I'm saying a lot of people have their whole life on Facebook, their whole like pictures, their whole memories, everything, and just with a bit of a button, it's just gone. So being able to back that up, being able to control your own data is something that some people, some average regular people might care about, but they definitely will care about not seeing ads and not having stuff tracking them, and not having like, hey, you like, they don't want to like message about a health problem and start getting ads for it. They don't want to be like, hey, you're explosive, the best explosive diarrhea treatment on the market. You're like, what the hell? Like, you don't want to see that coming up. So if you provide a system that just works for regular people, does something extra good, but then there's also that little thing of, oh, by the way, you can send and receive crypto on this platform. You don't have to register for things, because Facebook, there's so many people who have left Facebook because they did not want to submit their driver's license. And it's just like, and these aren't crazy political people always. They're just sometimes regular people that just want to have a name like, Disneylandia, Somalia or something. And it's like, all right, but then where's your ID for your little like floating rat icon?
Well, and that's the problem. I think for people to use dApps, I think we need to get to the point where we just call them apps again, because people don't want to know that they're working with blockchain. Most people don't care. Even most of the people in the crypto sphere don't even know how distributed consensus works. Like that, they don't get it, and they don't need to. Like, I don't have to be a computer scientist to use my laptop either. And at some point, we have to get to the point where we are accidentally using the blockchain in our real lives every day, and that's where the real value comes from.
I do like the word dApps. I'm not attached to the word, but I do think that there should be, just like crypto. Oh, it's a crypto. Well, it's better. It's like there has to be something cool about it. So if it's an app, it's like Facebook's tracking your every move. If it's a dApp, it's somehow better. Even if it's got to
be the user experience, though. Like that has to be the thing that is cool.
You have to be like looking for dApps, because only old people use email. I mean, apps, old school apps. It's like there has to be something where it's like, this is the better product, and the decentralized app name indicates it's the better product. Therefore, people will just like go for it. Like, again, this is not instantly, right? You have to have a few good dApps, and people are like, oh yeah, oh, is that just another app? I can't find it in the Play Store. It's like, or I can't find it here. and they're like, no, it's like this, or like, oh, who runs it? Oh, it's a decentralized, and eventually realize that the best products happen to be dApps, but you have to call them dApps. It's not just the apps I like.
I don't know that it matters if they're called dApps or not. I don't think it needs a definition. It's like Blu-ray versus HD DVD. Like for me, it's like, you know what? Which one is Terminator 2 available on? Because that's the one I'm gonna get. And it's because of the content, and
hold up just a second. There's some other things. I do think that you need to put like a little bit of virtue signal in there, because
I mean a little bit, like
recycling, organic. Think about it. People will just double their money they pay on stuff because it's organic, and it doesn't. You can like you should con people. You can just find some.
But that's the thing you're consuming though. Like you're still like, I'm a better person because I'm eating an organic mango right now, as opposed to
you're trying to be healthier. Or here, how about this? It actually tastes better. And by saying organic, it's like, oh, if I have that a label, it's probably going to taste better. Whether or not it actually does, if enough organic food tastes better, that virtue signal label ends up being associated with its higher quality product.
I think
DApp. I want the DApp to be the organic app.
Okay, I don't want to say you're wrong. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong. But I'm trying to say that the DApp part of it, though the DApp part of it is the thing that's just going to confuse people because they don't know what decentralization is. They don't get it.
It'll be the name of the actual DApp itself that people will resonate to and connect to. Of course, the message of decentralization for first adopters to drive them in to use it. But yeah, it'll be how many people are using it that will drive the main adoption. Anyway, time is ticking on, and we're going overboard. Kurt, I don't know if this is legit or not, but people are freaking out in the comment section, saying that Binance and Coinbase are apparently down, and a couple of people are talking about that, freaking out. So I hope
to just comment spam.
So I don't know if that is legitimate, if that is the case. I mean, I hope it's not, because that might mean there may be something bad going on. I hope that isn't the case. I don't know.
Markets are very green right now, so I don't know, but I'll have to check when I'm off the air.
Right. Okay. Right. So before we sign off, there is one thing that I would like to notify everyone that's still watching or listening. So mainly, if you're watching this live now, I'd just like to notify you that there is just under 4 hours remaining to apply to be a Dash Investment Foundation supervisor. If you want to know more about that, you can go to blog.dash.org, and there is an article on there that breaks down the role, what's expected, with a frequently asked questions section. Like I said, 4 hours remaining to apply. Go check that out now if you're interested and you want to know more about what it is. Kurt, you should go for that. I think you'd be pretty interesting.
I will check it out.
Yeah. Joel, anything you want to add to that?
No.
Right. Yeah. So I know we've gone a bit over time. So if you want to learn more about trading, how to read a chart, then you need to speak to Kurt, and you need to go to Crypto Traders Pro. So Kurt, how can they find out more about you and the service you provide?
Quite simply, cryptotraderspro.com will connect you to everything in our whole Crypto Traders universe. And if you want to search for me, follow me on Twitter or Instagram or everywhere else. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. on literally every social media platform. Just to keep it simple, I have no anonymous accounts set up that you need to follow. So cryptotraderspro.com, or just Google my name, follow me on Twitter, which is where I'm probably the most active. Twitter and Facebook, but I'm trying to be more active on Twitter because it's a little easier. But yeah, come join me. Join the revolution.
Excellent. Okay, Joel, take us out.
Like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube.
Done. Job done. That was episode. All right.
SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, all the audio stuff. Mark's going to share the thing tomorrow about it. And it is also time for you one, you only after party. Go to staydashy.com. Was it in the comment live chat yet? Oh, he's slow today. He's in the middle. There we go. Staydashy.com gets you into the Dash Talk Discord. which is amazing, fantastic Discord. And you're the best, only the best. And you just start asking around for the after party. And then we'll plug you into something like this, except not just 3 awesome people talking about stuff that's like relatively safe to be on air, but it's like up to a dozen or more people talking about some of this stuff, but also anything. Definitely want to be, if you're one of the cool kids, you'll be in the after party at some point. If not, do you really even exist?
Yeah, you want to join the cool kids at the back of the bus. That's what it is. So yeah, so you get to speak to us, and it's a real mixture of people. You know, not only do you get to speak to us, wow, amazing, but like, you know, there's other community members, sometimes masternode operators, but sometimes we get people from core come in as well. So yeah, everything's on the table. It's been a really crazy week in crypto. Lots of Dash news this week as well. Some really cool stuff happening next week as well, which we can't talk about because that's embargoed. But there is a couple cool announcements coming next week. So make sure you stay tuned to dashnews.org because there's a few press releases that I can't wait to publish on the platform. So yeah, I don't know what day that's going to go out because we've got to wait to get the green light, but there's some cool stuff happening. Anyway, hopefully that will entice you to go check out the website anyway, dashnews.org. As Joel said, staydashy.com for the Dash Talk Discord. Come join us in the after party. If not, go check out the Discord anyway. We've got a huge community with different projects, different channels, different sections. Even if you're new to Dash, come say hello. Any questions that you have, I'm sure community members will help facilitate and answer to their best of their ability. Anyway,
for myself, but you can even ask, is Dash a scam? And I will honestly and respectfully and educationally answer that question. I can't speak for other people looking at you, Macrochip, but I will at least give the proper thing. Oh, thanks. I didn't know that. That's awesome. And then there you go. Off on the way.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kurt, for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. That was episode 107 of the Dash News podcast. If you've enjoyed this video, please press that like button, smash for Dash, and don't forget to share and subscribe. I hope you have a fantastic weekend wherever you are. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy. Have a good weekend, everyone.